Welcome to 21st Century Radio. I'm Dr. Zohara Hieronimus. Laura Kortner is our executive producer, and Anita Brockington, our engineer. In 1984, I founded the Ruscombe Mansion Community Health Center in Baltimore, Maryland, which is the largest and oldest freestanding outpatient holistic healing center of its kind on the East Coast, if not nationally. Offering options that are non-toxic and non-invasive, we have as a community of professionals focused on the well-being of the whole person, using homeopathy, acupuncture, counseling, asira, meditation, rolfing, craniosacral therapy, qigong, massage, yoga, and numerous other options. Our goal at Ruscombe is to assist each person in their healing journey. Rather than focusing only on the ever-changing kaleidoscope of maladies any person might experience in their lives, we work with each person in looking at their physical body, the emotional body, their mental and spiritual bodies. Using this comprehensive and holistic approach offers providers and clients the greatest range of understanding and attention for achieving optimal health and addressing chronic issues that many people endure. This hour, we're joined by Linda Watkins and Tessie Brungard, who will share tools to address our body, mind, emotions, and spirit, and we hope you'll benefit by our communal effort to share a little taste of the Ruscombe Mansion's Community Health Center's offerings. Linda Watkins joins us this portion of the program, and she is a multi-trained practitioner in Reiki, Touch for Health, Brain Gym, Kinergetics. Linda is also an asira technician, which uses a vibrational assessment and balancing device to find the stressors that block the body's natural ability to heal itself. But today, she will focus on one of her favorite topics, the law of attraction, which, as she writes, quote, has been explored and taught by philosophers and thought leaders throughout the ages as well as in modern times. You may know this verse from Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Henry Ford is quoted as saying, quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, unquote. Law of attraction dictates that you have attracted your life like a magnet. And as Linda further writes, quote, you have created your income level, your relationships, your home, your weight by your thoughts and expectations. So what if your thoughts actually do create your reality? What if you can enhance your life with improved thinking, unquote. Thank you for joining us, Linda.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, so glad to have you, because the topic is one I'm sure everybody's interested in, and it's an enormous topic. Like, people can spend a lifetime learning to control their thoughts. So first, give us the overview that you have of how we can enhance our life with improved thinking.
Well, our predominating thoughts actually create our reality. And so this just simply means that if we can learn to monitor our thoughts, which is quite a lofty spiritual principle, but if we can learn to step back and watch our thoughts, we can actually improve the quality of our lives. And I'd love to start by reading a poem by Henry Van Dyke. It's called Thoughts Are Things. I hold it true that thoughts are things. They're endowed with bodies and breath and wings, and that we send them forth to fill the world with good results or ill. That which we call our secret thought speeds forth to earth's remotest spot, leaving its blessings or its woes like tracks behind it as it goes. We build our future thought by thought, for good or ill, yet know it not. Yet so the universe was wrought. Thought is another name for fate. Choose then thy destiny and wait, for love brings love and hate brings hate. And that, again, is a poem by Henry Van Dyke, and it stops with a negative word. However, as we can explore today, I think we'll find that once we are aware of those negative thoughts, we can make a huge change.
Well, one of the things that I don't think there's any human alive, maybe a really great master who I don't know, and who probably has kept themselves concealed from humanity in general. It's not an easy task. Meditation, mindfulness, all these kinds of spiritual practices help us. But how do you know what your predominating thoughts are?
Well, okay, this can be achieved, as you mentioned, with mindfulness, with meditation. However, there are some easier, more practical ways. And I can tell you that I was on a silent retreat at Optimum Health Institute, so it involved a deep physical cleanse. And so this could be why it was so effective. But on my days of spiritual retreat, I was blown away to be able to hear my thinking loud and clear. And, as a spiritual coach and, energy healer for 12 years, I was really humbled to find that my thoughts were totally, let's say, dysfunctional. Okay, so for example, I was in the dining hall and I was thinking things like, that person's standing too close to the condiments. Oh my gosh, what if he knocks something over? Or that person's wearing a sweater. Wait, it's hot outside. And over and over, just this, nonstop thinking.
Judgmental in this case.
Exactly. And judgmental of myself as well.
Well, of course, in Kabbalah, that's the left hand of discrimination, discernment, harshness, etc. And the right hand is of expansion and loving kindness. So when we're on our left path, which is the right hemisphere, it's almost as though sometimes there can be a contraction. And then when we move to the left side, to the right side of our body, it's more of an expansion.
I see.
So
Okay.
so you became aware of it, and then what do you do? Because we live in a culture that's extremely gevura, that's what they would say in Hebrew, very contractual, judgmental, harsh, negative, abusive, etc.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I have done is begun to use 3 magic words, which are up until now. And so if I were to say, for example, I'm always getting lost. I change it to, up until now, I've always gotten lost when I'm driving. And this puts the always, that ruminating thought that's going to create me getting lost over and over again, puts it in the past. And so up until now are 3 magic words. Another phrase that I've learned is, what else could this mean? So if somebody is dressed in a sweater, what else could this mean? I have no idea. She might have the chills. It's none of my business. What else could this mean? Also, if I felt like I've been in some way insulted or hurt by somebody else's actions or speech, I can ask, what else could this mean? Oh, well, it could mean they were distracted. It could mean, any number of things. So it's sort of a step back and a letting go. I'll give you an example. I used to find myself saying, I'm tired. So it could be 11 o'clock at night. I could have had a long day, and I'd just be like, ugh, I'm tired. And it wasn't just I'm tired, time for bed. It was like an oppressive, judgmental thing, like, why am I so tired? And I would say things like this again and again. And so I knew, I was studying law of attraction, and I knew that this was creating more tiredness. So I spent a couple days, and it was well worth it, because what I came up with was a 180-degree difference, where I now say, I'm satisfied. And boy, does that feel better.
So you're suggesting something fairly simple. I mean, psychotherapy and all kinds of practices sometimes suggest it takes a long time to make these gradual shifts. But what you're suggesting is we can use words, in this case, as a way to, and I don't want to call it reprogramming ourselves. It sounds so analytic and harsh, but it's redirecting, if you will, our attention.
Exactly. And also being loving and kind to yourself. So when I tell myself I'm satisfied, I might not have even had a busy day. It might not be late at night. And so what? Okay, hey, I'm satisfied. I'm going to sit for a while. I'm going to take a walk.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Given that in the midst of the pandemic of 2020, there is a great deal of fear of touching people, fear of being near people, fear of leaving the house, fear of losing income, fear of losing one's house, one's marriage, whatever. There's a lot of disruption worldwide, and some people respond to that in ways that are different than perhaps other people who might have a very laissez-faire attitude. Well, if I get the virus, it's no big deal. It's just a flu.
Right.
What can people do who are listening who are sort of tightened up into the fear ball and aren't quite sure how to relax their body, how to give themselves, I guess, as you point out, some gratitude for what we do have versus what we don't have?
Exactly. Well, there's the number one idea is gratitude. What could, when I look back on this 8 weeks or 12 weeks, what am I going to say, gosh, I really could have spent my time better? Or am I going to say, wow, that was the greatest opportunity to bake with my children, or to start a meditation practice, or to go on YouTube and learn from these wonderful thought leaders who help people with their thinking and their positivity. I can tell you that this too shall pass. Sounds cliche, but if we can focus on that, that's helpful. If we can also focus on, say, our grandparents or great-grandparents who were alive during the entire 20th century, and we can look at what they went through, the world wars, the Depression, all of the Spanish flu. They endured so much, and it made them strong, and they silently were strong. If we can look to their wisdom, to their strength, and just know that we can make it. We can start with a new beginning.
So in terms of this kind of being an affirmation of rah, we have a new opportunity here in life, which we do. It is truly a reset button for how we treat each other, nature, socioeconomics. I mean, it's actually huge in terms of what we can do to pivot. To me, it's like a pivot point for the entire planetary population. And it's not just about who gets sick and who doesn't. And I wish they would focus more on things like blood type, and have these people had the flu shot, have they had vaccines, what's their underlying condition. I mean, I think there's some much bigger patterns that we could actually learn from this that maybe is not being looked at this point, but perhaps retroactively it will. When people say, well, it's good for Linda and Zoe to tell us to just monitor our thoughts and change them, give us a notion of, let's say there are people in the audience who are chronically ill, or they have heart problems or digestive problems or back problems, and every day they wake up and think, oh my God, how bad is my day going to be? Give us just a generic for people who suffer from chronic ill health, and now we have psychological issues with the virus that are compounding already questionable behavior in individual lives. How does one refocus the attention? Because that's ultimately what you're telling us.
Sure, right. Well, I've been recently introduced to somebody called Marissa Peer, and she is a world-renowned. She has worked with royalty and, superstars, Olympic athletes, and all. So she's a really amazing human being who used to be. She used to be a nutritionist, and now she's a hypnotherapist. And she helps people by getting them to write, "I am worthy," on their refrigerator, on their mirrors, everywhere that they can possibly look and see, and remind themselves constantly, I am worthy of feeling better. I am worthy of being kind to myself today. I am worthy to perhaps think positively and invite something into, using law of attraction, invite something into my presence, perhaps a new healing modality or a new video or meditation that I can listen to. And I can tell you that appreciation is the key. Apparently, it is absolutely impossible to feel negative, to feel sorry for yourself, and not to, say people with chronic illness shouldn't feel sorry for themselves, but it is supposedly literally impossible to feel negativity when you are feeling gratitude. So you could do things like, gratitude journals. You could, before I get out of bed, I'm going to, look for things that I'm grateful for. I can set a timer on my phone to constantly look at gratitude.
And I also noticed in a note you had sent me that in addition to I am worthy, to also say I am enough, meaning who I am, what I am, here I am,
Exactly.
that's enough. We don't, and during this pandemic, it's very difficult because people may have thought, oh, I'm going to have all this time at home. I'm going to get my whole house organized. I did finally start to do that myself, by the way. My
Good
two
job.
medicine closets. It took me 4 days. But when else in my life did I take 4 days to take everything out of closets, leave it on the dining room table for a couple days, and literally sort? The answer is never, not in 26 years that I've thought about doing it. And I do want to add that one other thought. Carolyn Miss, who I've interviewed in the past, does some things on YouTube, etc., and she tours around the world talking about what she has coined woundology. And just one sentence she had out of hours of presentation really struck me. She said, if we're not living what our inner voice tells us to do, we don't get well. And I speak as a person who has suffered with chronic health, and I've always tried to understand with all the things I do and all that I understand and teach, why is it that I still am not over these chronic conditions of autoimmune disorder, etc. And that one sentence, when she said, if you don't live what your spirit, meaning your inner voice, tells you to, you can't get well. And it makes total sense. And one of the things that I've been struggling with is literally what many people in our age bracket or my age bracket in their mid-60s start thinking about, which is downsizing and scaling down what I call Mount Hieronimus. And that, doing those two closets, I tell you, I feel better than almost anything I can point to in years. Like a really
That's
phenomenal accomplishment, because that was my inner voice. Somebody else's might say, you know, take up knitting. Someone else might say, go volunteer for children or go to the food banks and help. But mine was get lighter in my belongings and sort things. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to do it because I have small intestine issues, which is the sorter. So when somebody suffers from a chronic illness, be it a heart, a back, can they look at the organs that are weak and then find affirmations that also help that organ strengthen?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. If you were to refer to Louise Hay, she has a book called Heal Your Life, and it's like a dictionary. Here are the maladies that you've got, and here are affirmations that you can use to change it. In fact, I'm walking to this book right now, which I keep right on my altar when I work with clients by phone.
Louise Hay's Heal Your Life.
Yes. So the subtitle is The Mental Causes for the Physical Issues and the Metaphysical Ways to Overcome Them. And so, for example, you talk about small intestine being the sorter. And let's look.
Well, I'll tell you what, rather than you're taking time on that, let me ask you a broader question, because people can go look her up, Louise Hayes. She had a lot to do with starting this whole movement 25, 30 years ago, and her book, Heal Your Life. Visualization is really an important tool, and you point to that in terms of the law of attraction. You said that there's thinking, there's speaking, there's writing, there's visualizing, and visualizing while feeling. We have about a minute and a half. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Okay, so thinking has one level of power. So and especially, if we think things once, that's got a certain level of power. But if we think things predominantly, constantly, ruminating, of course, it's got more power. If we say something out loud, that's got even more power. So if you say, I'm going on a diet, you think to yourself, I'm going on a diet. If you speak it out loud and share it with somebody, it makes it more powerful. If you will actually write down, I'm going on a diet, and this is, what the results are going to be, that makes it more powerful. If you were to visualize, so actually sit quietly and imagine yourself in that place of, hey, I've been dieting. Ooh, I'm making better choices. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little better. My clothes are fitting differently. That gives you more power. And then a lot of people have criticized the book, The Secret, and have said, it stops there. And it doesn't involve action. But the next step, even before action, that gives you an even higher level of power would be visualizing while feeling. Okay, so what does it feel like? And actually put yourself in that place where, hey, I've been dieting for a while. My cravings are leaving. I'm making great choices. And this is how I feel. I feel powerful.
Well, I want to encourage our audience to follow up with you at yourstellarhealth.com, yourstellarhealth.com, or you can call Linda Watkins at 443-243-3293. That's 443-243-3293. 3293. And as she says, remember, we can attract into our life everything we need. Be grateful.